Hello again, it's Mr. Pete, your YouTube shop teacher, and this is the middle of June 2022, and this is the follow-up video of my What Is It series, the answers for 74B. It'll be a long video. I have a lot of things to cover, and later in the video at the end, because I beat the subject to death, I think I have the definitive answer for the finial on the Starrett surface gauge, if anyone still cares about that. But before I do, I want to talk just a little bit about some videos coming out this fall. I just completed a 4-part video. There'll be, again, 4 parts. And in that video, I convert this Model C South Bend 9-inch lathe into a B by switching aprons that were given to me by Roger Taylor. And in order to do that, I had to cut a gear on the crossfeed shaft. I had to cut a keyway into the lead screw, so there's quite a bit to it, and I think you'll find that interesting. Watch for it in the fall of 2022. All right, let's get on with the answers to 74B. I almost forgot to tell you that at the end of this video, I will give you the titles of those 4 videos on this lathe. Okay, let's get started. Number 1 is an ectograph number 2, and this is, some people might call it an electric pencil. It is not an engraver, it is an etcher. So with the proper tip in there, and this doesn't work, by the way, so I can't really demonstrate it. And I think it called for a molybdenum tip, and I think you can still buy them. I just stuck a piece of wire in there. And let's look at this handle here. This is made in England, at least this part of it is. Ectograph, flip it around, and I think this is Bakelite. There's the patent, made in England. I didn't look the patent up. You can if you're in the mood. Now actually when I plug this in, and it is plugged in right now, it hums, but I have to put my ear right on it, and it hums, and it even hums when it's on off, so I don't know why that is, but I'm just getting nothing out of it. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'll probably pitch it anyway. You can buy one of these, only they are in a much more modern case now. It would be used to etch tools or whatever you might need to etch, and you can either set your work on a plate like this and ground it, and then just write on it like you would a pencil, and it's just like a tiny arc welder. I made one of these when we were in college in electricity class. We had to wind the transformer, make the laminations and all that good stuff. It was kind of fun. Same thing here. If you wanted to, etch tubalcain on there, I could just clamp it like that, and then depending on your handwriting, go ahead and do it. So, and this appears to vibrate, as I remember. There's a little clearance between this and the anvil, and it's spring loaded, so I believe that vibrated, I'm pretty sure. So anyway, that's what the ectograph number 2 is. Is there a number 1? I don't know. Okay, here's item 2, and many people guessed correctly. Look through the comments, you might enjoy it, that it is a pump of some kind. This is just a gearbox. That's why I bought it, because I'm going to save this and throw the rest away. But it is a pump. I wasted quite a bit of time researching this and trying to find information, and I didn't find much other than Mr. Everson has patents on this, and I don't know the numbers offhand, but it is used in a sewage treatment plant to inject chlorine or chloride, one of the two, I don't know whether, I guess it's a liquid, into the sewage, I suppose, to purify it. Well, what else would it do? So I'm going to run it now just for the heck of it, because I enjoy the motion of it, but it's a useless old thing, and this I believe is from 1953 or thereabouts. A very high gear reduction here, or should I say low. Let me hook. Here we go. I know you're probably thinking big deal. But I like mechanical things. I'll turn it around and show you the other side of it now. And many people said that it is for very high pressure, and I believe they're right, because there's a stuffing box right here. and the inlet and the outlet, I guess, and I don't know what this little pipe is for, but chlorine gas, I guess, is pretty dangerous. You don't want to mess with it. And there were greasers here, so maybe you didn't need to lubricate it very often. But that's what it is, I think. If anybody wants to research that, feel free and put your findings in the comments. All right, let's go on to number 3, which will really... Okay, here's number 3, and thank you very much for a couple of guys that actually told me what this is, and it all sounds very convincing. I almost threw this away at the auction, and then I almost threw it away several other times, and now I think I really will throw it away, but it came in the pocket tackle box, which I think was a Popeil product. Remember the worthless Popeil pocket fishermen, which I think are worth a lot of money now because of the novelty of them. But this is homemade, but it is used to align shafts, heavy shafts. Now the man that owned this apparently worked for the nuclear plant, which is 25 miles from my house, but his house was maybe 10 miles or less, maybe 5 miles from the nuclear plant. So he had some other things there that indicated that. But anyway, it is a device used to align shafts. Now on this little demonstration set here, there's a rubber coupling here, so it's just no big deal if it's a little bit out of alignment one way or the other. But on something that has hundreds of horsepower and is worth tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, we need perfect alignment between the two shafts, and typically it would be a large electric motor driving a pump or a generator or some other load like that. And then it has to be aligned in this direction, so that's extremely important, and that's all done by millwrights, and it's done with dial indicators. But I think now they can do it by lasers and more modern methods. But first of all, let me show you something here in the Starrett catalog, because Starrett makes one of these. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about this and show you how I think it might be used. Let's look at the Starrett catalog. Here it is in the Starrett catalog, about a 5-year-old catalog, and this includes 2 indicators, and actually there's 2 of these, although I think you can get by with just one. And again, that's the price, at least, maybe more, and that's what it's doing. But visualize these to be very large shafts, and he's checking both radially and axially here, the alignment of the 2 shafts between the Lovejoy coupler. But this one, they can be used on extremely large shafts, 10, 12 inches or so, in a steel mill or you name it. So now let me kind of set this up and show you how I think it would be used. Okay, let this coffee can here represent a shaft. Now this is 6 inches in diameter, and this would probably fit an 8-inch shaft. It was probably made for a certain job, maybe only used once. And it is homemade because either they didn't have the money or something to buy that Starrett, or they needed it right now. So it's made with roller chain, and then this was all fabricated, and then there were some other fittings and screws and things like that. So let me set this up, and we'll pretend that we have 2 shafts here that are coffee cans, and how we might align them perfectly. Okay, I know this is real crude. I'm kind of embarrassed about it, but I just used a wire tie here because we got way too much chain, and the Starrett model can get around that if you look at it. Okay, this is the other shaft. Now I'm going to take the Starrett plunger type, back plunger type, and set it up. That'll take a second, and I'll do it off camera, but I don't really have one that'll fit into these holes, so I'm using the clamp to hold it on there. And remember, we're talking about finials. Well, why is there a finial on this part as well? Who knows? I'll talk more about that at the end of the video, but let me set this up and show you what I mean. Okay, here's the general idea. The fixture is clamped onto one of the shafts. Of course there'd be a coupling here of some kind that I cannot represent properly. And then we have the back plunger indicator, but you could use just about any kind of indicator that you could think of, and then you would rotate, either shaft, but I would say probably this shaft, in 4 directions, for instance, at 90 degrees like that, and then bring it all the way down to the bottom, and then all the way on the other sides, and write down the dimensions, how far out of alignment it is, and then the millwright would shim as needed. Also necessary that the thing isn't cockeyed. So that's what this is, and thank you to the few of you that in a comment enlightened me. All right, I beat that to death. Let's move on. Okay, here's item 4, a large cast iron wheel with beautiful curved spokes. Quite a few people had the correct answer, but the clue that I gave was that Jimmy DeResta had one of these. So then everybody guessed that it was a bandsaw wheel, and I forgot that he does a lot of bandsaw work too, but definitely not a bandsaw wheel. Way, way too heavy for that. Although we had a Yates American at the high school that would run for about 5 minutes after you turned it off, but the wheel still wouldn't have been this heavy. So this is off of a Chandler Price Platen printing press. We used those in college, and they had one at the high school when I first came there. They were still doing the old lead type, and I learned how to set type by hand, and I hated it. I was going to be a printing teacher, but after that experience, I'd had nothing to do with printing. And then it all became obsolete quite soon after that. But this is a beautiful example. This is an old one with the curved spokes. I'm going to show you several pictures off of the internet now, and the newer ones did not have curved spokes. They had straight spokes, which took a little of the charm away. But go back and watch Jimmy DeResta's videos where he uses that press. And if you don't know what a platen press is, you know, it's really archaic, but Gutenberg didn't think so. Well, that was a long time after Gutenberg, too. All right, let me show you those pictures on my phone. Okay, just in case you don't know anything about old printing presses, this is a Chandler and Price, and it's called an earlier one. And of course, the flywheel looks identical to mine, doesn't it? So mine could well be that actual model, but I do not know that for sure. And there is a more modern version, which is still probably 80 years old, that uses straight spokes. Now, when I bought this, I paid $1 for it in the basement of an old hardware store, and all of the other parts were laying there. It was disassembled because these are very heavy. And they probably wanted to put it in storage, but of course it was all rusty, and I'm sure it got scrapped. I don't think anybody bid on it. That's over 25 years ago. And that's what it looked like, all broken down into pieces when it was leaning against the wall in that old hardware store. And I believe I was probably the only one there that even knew what it was. And that has no significance at all. All right, let's move on to the next item. And finally, number 5, of course, is a crimper for crimping some type of phone device. We'll never know because it's marked Bell system. It might have been used in the Western Electric factory even for assembly, but more than likely by alignment because it shows a lot of wear as if it had been in a tool pouch or something for years. But it just crimps a little connector. Like I have shown so many different crimpers lately, but it's an HK Porter. That's the big deal I was making here, that it has the exact same mechanism or a pretty similar mechanism as their complete line of bolt cutters. So thank you to Tony and other people who contributed items to me. All right, let's beat the finial to death here. Let's go down on the... I know you're sick and tired of this. Turn it off if you don't want to hear any more about this finial. And remember, a contributor, a viewer, called Stare It Up and said, what's the purpose of that? And they didn't know. And if you look in their latest catalog, they no longer use it. It's just chopped off flat like the other end. I maintain it's for decoration, but let me throw a few more things at you here. And then why did they also include a finial on the indicator set here? Well, you know what? Several things. First of all, I just got off the phone. I was talking to Clark Easterling, you know, Windy Hill Foundry. You all know him, great guy. But he was saying one of the purposes is, in his mind, so that when you assemble this, if you got this all the way off and you go to assemble it again, First of all, it scuffs off the dirt and abrasives, and it makes it easy to start. You know, sometimes it's very hard to get a cylinder that's the exact right, same size as the hole, not cylinder, a piston or something like that. So it helps you get it started. I don't know. You see what I mean? It goes right on and helps align it. That could be the reason. But it's lost in antiquity. But thank you, Clark, for that suggestion, which may be correct and may not. But then other viewers, or two of them, I think, and I forgot your name. They get lost in the comments, you know, so I don't know who it is. And then he sent me to a video, and I'm going to show you a picture right now of that I took off the video, and I'm going to give him credit here in a minute. The person that made this video, and you can watch it. It's a several-part video, but notice the ball is in upside down, and it's up against the cylinder, and he's using a test indicator there to check the true squareness. So I've made that setup myself. Let's take a look. And thank you to the maker of that video. So his suggestion was to put the ball in upside down like that, where it will touch the cylinder without the casting touching it, and then you would have to attach a test indicator. Now I have no good way of attaching that, but the general idea was to put it up against that, and well, that has to be touching. There isn't really room to do that. Has to be touching like that, has to be on center and all of that, and then you just go around it, and if it's truly square or perpendicular, it would be a 0 reading. What do you think about that? Because another thought that I had is that there is no book that says 101 ways to use a surface gauge. I wish there was, because there are several standard uses for it, probably many uses, but it also can be used just for maybe a million other ways depending on a person's creativity or how they're going to use it, or what problem they are trying to solve. So that's an end to the finial. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoy this series. Give me a thumbs up if I deserve it. And hang on for a few minutes where I give you the title blocks of the 4 videos coming by popular demand this fall to a theater near you. So long.